On quiet night the villagers were shouting his name. Teo, Teo, they yelled, their voices sharp and angry. Bring her back. You'll pay for this. Teo's heart pounded as he gripped the small oar tighter, his arms trembling from the effort of rowing. Behind him, hidden beneath a soaked blanket in the boat, Lola the young mermaid clung to his leg, her tail trembling with fear. They think I've stolen you, Teo whispered. I'm sorry, Lola said, her voice quivering. I didn't mean for this to happen. Neither did I, Teo replied, glancing over his shoulder at the growing cluster of boats pursuing them. Lanterns swayed in the darkness, their light reflecting off the churning waves. But I promised to take you home, and I will. Ahead, the open sea stretched wide and deep, the place where Lola's world began and his ended. Behind them, the villagers closed in, their shouts blending with the crash of the waves. Teo gritted his teeth and rowed harder. There was no turning back now. The village of Oruden sat by the sea. The villagers made a living by fishing in the sea, where waves whispered stories to anyone willing to listen. Among the villagers was a curious boy named Teo, who loved the ocean more than anything. Every day, he ran to the shore, collecting shells and watching the waves crash against the rocks. Teo often wondered about the secrets hidden beneath the water. His mother told him stories about sea creatures, including mermaids half human, half fish who lived in the deep. Mermaids are shy, she would say, and they only come to those with kind hearts. Teo always hoped to meet one, though he didn't know if they were real. One morning, after a big storm, Teo went to the beach as usual. The sand was scattered with broken shells and seaweed. As he walked along the shore, he noticed something glimmering in the sunlight. He ran closer and gasped. Lying in a tide pool was a young mermaid, her tail shimmering like a rainbow. Her long hair clung to her face, and her eyes were shut tight. She looked hurt and tired. Are you okay? Teo asked, kneeling beside her. The mermaid's eyes fluttered open, and she looked at him with fear. Please, help me, she whispered. Teo didn't hesitate. He gently lifted her out of the tide pool and carried her to a hidden cove, where the waves wouldn't reach her. The mermaid introduced herself as Lola. She explained that she had been caught in the storm and swept away from her family. I've been trying to find my way back to the deep waters, but I'm too weak, Lola said, her voice trembling. Teo felt a pang of sympathy. Don't worry, I'll help you. He brought her water in a seashell to keep, her tail wet, and shared stories about his life in the village. Lola listened with wide eyes, fascinated by his tales of human life. You're very kind, she said. Not all humans are like you. Teo shrugged. I just want to help. Everyone deserves kindness. Over the next few days, Teo visited Lola every chance he got. He brought her food, like small crabs and fish, and kept her safe from curious villagers. Lola told him about her underwater world, bright coral gardens, schools of glowing fish, and songs that traveled through the water. It sounds magical, Teo said, his eyes lighting up. It is, Lola replied, but it can also be dangerous. That's why we're told to avoid the surface. Then why did you come up here? Teo asked. I was curious, Lola admitted. I wanted to see the human world, but now I miss my home. Teo nodded. I'll make sure you get back to your family. One afternoon, as Teo was returning from the cove, he saw a group of villagers gathered near the shore. They were pointing at the ocean, talking about strange sights in the water. There's something out there, one man said. Maybe it's a sea monster. Teo's heart raced. If the villagers found Lola, they might think she was dangerous. He knew he had to protect her. That evening, Teo sneaked back to the cove and told Lola what he had heard. We have to leave soon, he said. It's not safe here. Lola nodded. But I still can't swim far enough on my own. Teo thought for a moment. Then I'll take you to the deeper water. We'll find a way. Teo borrowed a small boat from the village, pretending he was going fishing. He placed Lola carefully in the boat, covering her with a blanket to hide her tail. As they rowed out to sea, Lola looked back at the shore. Thank you, Teo, she said softly. You've done so much for me. Teo smiled. I'm just glad I could help. You're my friend. When they reached the deeper water, Lola's eyes sparkled. This is where I belong, she said, her voice full of joy. But before she could slip into the waves, a loud shout rang out. The villagers had followed Teo. They surrounded the boat, in their larger fishing vessels, shouting and waving nets. What's that in your boat, Teo? One man demanded. It's a mermaid. Another cried. Leave her alone, Teo shouted. standing protectively in front of Nyul. She's not hurting anyone. But the villagers didn't listen. They thought Lola was a threat or a prize to be captured. Lola clung to Teo, her eyes wide with fear. What do we do? Just when it seemed there was no escape, Lola began to sing. Her voice was soft at first, like the whisper of the waves. Then it grew stronger, filling the air with a melody so beautiful it made the villagers stop in their tracks. The nets fell from their hands as they listened, enchanted by her song. Even Teo felt a strange calm wash over him. When Lola finished singing, she looked at the villagers with tears in her eyes. "I don't want to hurt anyone," she said. "I just want to go home." The villagers, moved by her words and her song, slowly backed away. With the villagers gone, Lola turned to Teo. "It's time for me to go," she said. Teo felt a lump in his throat. "Will I ever see you again?" Lola smiled. "The ocean is big, but our friendship is bigger. I'll find you someday." She dove into the water, her tail splashing brightly in the moonlight. Teo watched until she disappeared beneath the waves. Teo returned to the village, his heart both heavy and full. He knew he would miss Lola, but he also knew he had done the right thing. From that day on, he visited the shore every morning, hoping to see a shimmer in the waves or hear a familiar song. And though Lola didn't return right away, Teo never stopped believing in the magic of the ocean and the power of kindness. Years passed, but Teo never forgot Lola. He grew taller and stronger, helping his family with fishing and learning to navigate the ocean like a seasoned sailor. Yet, no matter how busy life became, he always found time to visit the shore. Sitting on the same rock where he had met Lola, he would talk to the waves, telling them stories about his life and the village. "I hope you're okay, Lola," he often whispered, wondering if she could hear him beneath the endless blue. One quiet evening, as the sun dipped into the horizon and painted the sky in hues of gold and orange, Teo sat by the water, lost in thought. The waves lapped gently at his feet, and the air was calm. Suddenly, a familiar melody filled the air, a song he hadn't heard in years. Teo's heart leapt. He jumped to his feet and scanned the water. There, gliding toward him, was Lola. Her tail sparkled like the stars, and her hair flowed behind her like a silken river. "Lola," Teo shouted, running to the edge of the water. "Tao," Lola called back, her voice full of joy. As she reached the shore, Teo knelt beside her, grinning from ear to ear. "You're here. I thought I'd never see you again." "I promised I'd find you," Lola said, her eyes shining. "And I brought you something special." Lola reached into a small pouch made of shimmering seaweed that hung around her neck. She pulled out a pearl unlike any Teo had ever seen. It was as big as his palm and glowed softly, as if it held the light of the moon inside it. "This is for you," Lola said, placing the pearl in his hands. "It's called a Lumini pearl. It's rare, found only in the deepest parts of the ocean. It's said to hold the wisdom of the sea and the power to bring calm to those who possess it." Teo stared at the pearl, speechless. It's beautiful, but why are you giving it to me?" Lola smiled. "You saved me when I was lost, and you showed me what true kindness means. This pearl is a way to say thank you. It will also remind you that no matter how far apart we are, the ocean connects us." Teo felt a lump in his throat. "I don't know what to say." "Thank you, Lola. This means more than you'll ever know." The two friends spent hours talking by the shore. Lola told Teo about her adventures in the ocean, how she had searched for him every time she came near the surface. She spoke of glowing underwater caves, massive whales that sang songs older than time, and her reunion with her family, who had missed her dearly. Teo shared stories about the village, how he had grown up, and the changes that had come to the shore. He told her about his dreams of becoming a sailor and exploring the seas. "Maybe one day, I'll find your world," Teo said with a grin. "I'd like that," Lola replied. "But until then, keep the pearl close. It will guide you when you're lost." As the night deepened, Lola looked toward the ocean. "I have to go soon," she said softly. Teo's smile faltered, but he nodded. "I understand. But promise me something." "What is it?" "Promise you'll come back again. I don't care if it takes years, I'll wait." Lola reached out and touched his hand. "I promise, Teo, no matter how long it takes, I'll always find my way back to you." With one last smile, Lola slipped back into the waves, her tail glimmering in the moonlight. Teo watched as she disappeared into the sea, holding the glowing pearl close to his heart. Over the years, the Lumini pearl became Teo's most treasured possession. It seemed to glow brighter when he was happy and dimmer when he felt lost or lonely. Whenever he held it, he felt a sense of calm and connection, as if the ocean itself was guiding him. The pearl also brought luck to his family. The fish were always plentiful when they went out to sea, and their nets never tore. People in the village began to whisper about Tayo's magic, but he kept the truth of the pearl and Lola secret. Though Lola didn't return immediately, Tayo never doubted her promise. He continued to visit the shore, telling the waves about his life and dreaming of the day he would see her again. Years later, when Tayo finally became a sailor, he carried the pearl with him on every journey, and no matter how far he traveled or how rough the seas became, the pearl always glowed, reminding him of his friend beneath the waves. And so, their story became a legend in the villager tale of kindness, courage, and the unbreakable connection between a boy and a mermaid.
Please remember to subscribe to this channel and give my video a thumbs up. And I'll see you in my next video soon. Thank you.